What's up and welcome to the channel. My name is Hellcat and thank you for joining us. Today we're going to be doing a comparison between the P365 and the Springfield Armory Hellcat, two very popular concealed carry pistols and really two trendsetters in the market. And I'm going to tell you everything I know about them, pros and cons, and at the end, you know how we do it. We are going to choose a clear-cut winner and why. And hopefully y'all will enjoy this. Really quick, I would like to thank the patrons, all of our patrons, all of our SHOT team. Right now, you're looking at the $5 and up patrons, which is a special perk for all $5 and up patrons to have their names shown at the beginning of the video and a special outro right after the end of the video. So pretty cool little perk there. If you'd like to see your name up on the screen or if you'd like to join the SHOT team, we'd love to have you join our community, which is just an extension of the community here on YouTube, and we have some extra content and things like that. So I'll leave a link down below if you'd like to join and check us out. And then Mr. Mark D is a brand new patron, so I would like to thank him because he is our patron of the week. Thank you, Mark. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started here. So the P365, let's talk about this one here. All guns have been safety checked too, by the way. All right, P365, 3.1 inch barrel, 5.8 inches in overall length. You have the weight of 17.8 ounces. That, of course, is unloaded with a standard magazine. And your height is 4.3 inches, and your width is right at an inch. All right. Hellcat, almost identical. I mean, literally, P365 obviously came out first, and Hellcat, the Hellcat, was trying to compete directly with that firearm, and I think they did a good job as far as specs. 3 inches in the barrel, 6 inches in overall length, 17.9 ounces with a flush mag, and 18.3 ounces with an extended mag, and then 4 inches in height and 1 inch in the width. So let's look at these two compared to each other, because numbers are one thing, but let's actually look at them. So slide to slide, you can see the Hellcat is just a little bit longer. Not really a big dimension there, unless you may be carrying appendix. That may mean something to you, but not much. Again, they're both an inch wide. And then if we put them on their backs, it's pretty interesting because the Hellcat is claiming 4 inches. P365 is 4.3. That does not look like 0.3 of an inch to me at all. So I would pretty much call it a draw. One gun that I do want to bring in, just because it is a competitor as well, and if this is something you want to see separately, just let me know. Maybe this one compared to the Hellcat. But I want to bring this one in because it's still a part of the 365 family, and it's also a competitor. So if you're looking at this, you got 4.8 inches over here, 12 rounds, 10 rounds, 11 rounds. And you can tell there's a pretty significant difference between the XL and the Hellcat there, over half of an inch to get one more round. So that may mean something to you. And then you jump up to 20.7 ounces unloaded, something like that, and 1.1 inches. I'll show you what that looks like here. Slide to slide, you can see the P365 XL is a little bit bigger all the way around, and again, you do get one more round. One thing about the P365 XL, though, is you have your option to put your optic, which on the Hellcat, you have that as well, the RMSC and the J-point, and then on this one, you can run the Sig Romeo, of course, and the RMSC. On the P365, no options for an optic plate. So take that for what it's worth. The P365 XL will be kind of a reference in this video, but if you want to see a separate video, just let me know in the comments down below. So we talked about the specs. These guns are so close, man. It's really hard to gauge a winner off of that, so we're not going to do that. Very close. Obviously, these guns are aimed at concealed carry. All right, getting yourself a good holster is going to be crucial no matter what gun you're carrying, but carrying each of these firearms for an extended amount of time, I can't tell much of a difference between either one. They are maybe a little bit a step above carrying like a Glock 42, if you're familiar with that. Inside the waistband is the way I prefer to carry whenever I can, and I'll carry them in a holster. If you know or are familiar with us, you know that we like holster because they're very minimal, and they are not going to add a whole lot of extra material. They're not going to add a lot of extra weight. They give you a positive snap in and out of the firearm, so it keeps it secure, safe, gives you some adjustability with a quick detach clip off your belt. This is the way I prefer to carry, and I'm gonna be honest with you. Again, I can't gauge a winner just off of carry with a good holster like this, man. They are really, really easy to carry firearms, which is good, because now that these firearms are out, that makes all the other manufacturers step up their game, and it's a fantastic time for us to be living in 2020 here. If you are a concealed carrier, a legal concealed carrier, of course, is who we're talking to. So what are you going to get with the gun? So you're going to get gun locks and booklets and all that kind of stuff. I go over it in the individual reviews if you want to check those out. You're going to get 2 mags with each. You're going to get an 11 and then a 13 with the Hellcat. So that's the 11. That's the 13 right there. So it's going to add a little bit more real estate in the grip. So that'll help you out if you have bigger hands or whatever the case may be, or as a backup. And then you're going to get 2 10-round mags with the P365. I don't have the other mag up here, but all it has is a little pinky extension. So you get a little more real estate while not increasing the capacity at all with the P365 there. Let's talk about the features, because this is where the guns start to separate themselves just a little bit. And what you have on the P365 is a proprietary rail, but they do give you that option, which is nice, because on smaller guns most of the time like this, you're not going to have that. So I've run a Streamlight on this before, we did a video on, and it's actually a slick little setup. I think Crimson Trace has some products as well. Actually, I know they do, because we did a review on one of their Crimson Trace products, and that was actually a nice little, it hooked on the proprietary rail, but then it came around the trigger guard and had an activation button right there for the laser. So undercut in the trigger guard is really nice. So one thing that SIG does is they provide you, they don't provide you a lot of real estate because it's a small gun, but where you do have real estate, they do a good job of making sure to fill in those spots really nicely. Grip texturing it's great. It's not as aggressive as some of the others in the past, but it's aggressive enough to keep this little gun locked in your hands. Of course, you have the magazine release right here that is reversible. All right, and it kind of curves with the frame right there, so it's out of the way, so you won't inadvertently hit it, but when you need to get to it, it's right there. One thing you'll notice is the smaller the mag, the more chance you have of that mag catching on the fatty part of your hand. So it's something you have to kind of work around there. SIG day-night sights. All right, this is their X-ray sight setup. Bright green dot there in the front with a tritium insert, and blacked out in the rear, again with tritium inserts. This, to me, is the way you do blacked out sights. This is the way you do night sights in general. This is my absolute favorite set of sights on a handgun, bar none. And then you have the loaded viewport right there, so you can see your brass down in the chamber, front and rear slide serrations. A very handsome looking gun, especially considering its size. A little bit of a beaver tail right there to protect from slide bite. Dovetailed in the front, dovetailed in the rear, so you have some options for some sights on this firearm. Slide stop right there. All right, can be used as a release if you want. And then their standard curved trigger, stainless steel slide, nitron coated, and you have carbon steel on the barrel there. Polymer frame, of course. So very nice looking firearm, a lot of great features. Now if we go over to the Hellcat, let's talk about this one. So you do have a rail spot up here, so if you want a light or a laser, you can do that. Some people may be asking, well, why do you want to do that on such a small gun like this? Maybe it's somebody's only gun, you know, maybe they want it for home defense and for personal protection, whatever the case may be. You have that option. Front and rear slide serrations, although when I'm looking at these, it definitely looks like the P365 wins in that department, at least, because the P365 actually has a deeper cutout and it feels more solid to me whenever you're actually racking the slide. These feel very slick and they're not cut very deep, and I'm sure they did that I don't know why they did that, but they did it all the way around on top of the optics plate and everything. It's just not a very deep cut, so I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of that, but anyways, rounded off trigger guard, high undercut in the frame, even higher than the P365. And one thing that Springfield does better than SIG in this department is taking the minimum real estate that you have and maximizing it everywhere. So you have these little stippled areas right here for your thumb. So whenever you're firing, or your thumb is just sitting there at the ready, or for your index finger over here, it's a nice little rest area. They have the stippling again up here, where SIG does not, so your thumb can rest right there. And it just helps you control the gun, especially when your hands are sweating and you're at the range and you're firing, because the smaller the gun, the more felt recoil, and you want to have maximum stability when you're firing a gun. And they do a great job with their grip texturing. So they actually have a name for it. It's their adaptive grip texturing. So it has short pyramids that lock into your hand, and long pyramids that are flat to be comfortable on the skin. So it's almost like a two pyramid setup. You have the longer ones that are kind of more rounded off or flattened, so they don't dig into your skin when you're carrying, and then you have the ones underneath that will help to lock the gun in your hand. But how much of that is a gimmick, I don't know. But what I can tell you is that it feels really good in the hand, really comfortable, not overbearing, not too much at all. And it's very comfortable against your skin, whereas the P365 sometimes can be a little rough on the skin. This is something you get used to, so it's not like a huge deal. It's just something you may notice if you just go into a gun shop and you're like, hey, let me pick these two guns up and just, put them in my hands. That kind of thing. You're going to get used to either one. This feels really good to me, though. They did a great job on the grip texturing, and I appreciate that, especially on the smaller guns. Little bit of a finger groove right there, not too much to speak of, and the P365 has that as well. Slide stop right here. Again, this one can be used as a release if you like. Loaded viewport right there, pretty much the same. And then your magazine release is reversible on this firearm as well, and they have an even better beaver tail on this gun. Now, they went with the set of sights, so I'm not even sure why they did this, but you have a really nice front sight there. It's got a yellow luminescent ring with a tritium insert, and then the rear is a U-notch style drop in the bucket sight. Yeah, I'd definitely be changing. I will eventually change this out. And then, of course, you have your optics plate right there for your RMSC or your JP Enterprises, your J points. So both these firearms have a lot of great features. This one has a little dingish right there for your trigger. One thing that this gun does have, too, that this one doesn't, is the frame is extended a little bit past the barrel. So that, let's say an attacker's on top of you, and you pull your firearm out in self-defense, and you're about this close, or it's in somebody's chest, or whatever the case may be. So most guns could malfunction in this position, but because that frame is stuck out a little bit, again, these guns are clear, but because that frame is stuck out just a little bit, it allows the gun to function perfectly in an up-close type of situation, God forbid. So, magazine release on this firearm, it's actually pretty good. So this one is a little more exposed, I think, a little more raised up in the front there. And the magazines seem to pop out really nicely on the Hellcat, on the P365. Again, the base plate, although it's just a little bit taller, it seems to hang up easier than that of the Hellcat. The Hellcat hung up a little bit right there, but because of the way they position this, they have it guarded down here on the back strap, and it guards against that magazine actually catching on the fatty part of your hand. Very nice design, actually. I really appreciate that they did that. And SIG kind of has the same thing. It just tapers off here, and it doesn't work nearly as well. So just one little thing I wanted to point out there. Not a big deal. And then you have the cross cannon logo, which I just thought always looked really good. So again, triggers after the shooting part of the review, Hellcat and the P365. Let's break them down, and then we will go to the range After the range, we'll do the triggers, we'll pull the slide, see what the weight is like, and then we'll do pros and cons and pick a winner. So breakdown here really quick. Slide stop to the rear, rotate this down. No need to pull the trigger. Dual captive recoil spring that is stainless steel there. And you guys have seen this 100 times, so we're not going to get into this. This one actually rotates up. You pull the trigger. Of course, you make sure it's clear. It's going to come off. Again, dual captive recoil spring on the Hellcat. So your maintenance on these guns, which I need to do, is very easy to accomplish there. Well, that is one thing. You do have full length, well, not really full length, but you have mid-length, over mid-length rails on the P365, whereas on the Hellcat, you actually have your rails that are split up, but there are beefy, very beefy rails, stainless steel rails there. Not that it means a whole lot, but just a little difference that I wanted to point out. So putting the guns back together, again, takes nothing. On the P365, one thing you may have to do is push that slide stop up, hold the takedown lever in the correct position, and then rotate it like that, and it just slams home. Nice little feature I just found out about. That's the first time that's happened, but the P365, let me go ahead and say this. It's had some issues for other reviewers and other folks alike, and I have not had a single issue out of it. One thing I did notice is when Mrs. Hellcat, actually when she was shooting, one time she went to go load the gun. All right, slide was locked back. She had already finished one mag. She loaded in a new one, and the slide went home automatically. I don't know that that's really a malfunction, but I at least wanted to point it out. It's the only thing I've seen with the P365 in the way of issues. So let's hit the range, and then when we come back, we'll tell you a little bit more about these guns and pick a winner. We'll see y'all in a minute.
That's the one I don't like, right?
All right, so hopefully y'all enjoyed that. Let's go ahead and show you the triggers. Little bit of take up here on the P365. You hit the wall, creeps right into that brake. A little bit of creep in the trigger, and then reset. Very audible, tactile. Very decent trigger on the P365. Let's pull it one time here. Let's see if we can get it right at 6 pounds on the P365. One more time for good measure. 5 pounds, 13 ounces. So right at 6 pounds. You don't want a really light trigger on a self-defense firearm. I don't mess with trigger weights on self-defense firearms. I do not believe in doing that. The Hellcat. All right, let's check out the trigger on this one. You have a little bit of a dingish right there, similar to a Glock. You hit the wall. A little bit of creep, and it kind of stacks a little bit, so it kind of gets a little bit heavier as you pull through. Again, audible and tactile reset. And it feels like it feels much heavier. I know it's not much heavier, but 6.5 pounds there, or a little under. £6, 2 ounces. I think my finger kind of got in there too. Hold on, let's try one more time just to make sure. Yeah, 6 pounds, 2 ounces. All right, so pretty consistent. And the triggers feel very different. The guns at the range, they both feel different. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in pros and cons. But I wanted you to get an idea. Maybe you drop me a comment right now at this point of the video and tell me which one you thought shot better in our hands. Down in the comments below. Leave us a comment real quick and tell us before the end of the video. So, both guns at the range did a fine job, though. I mean, there was no issues to speak of, no malfunctions, which, of course, is the most important thing when you're depending on a firearm that you're carrying every single day. And we ran Blazer Brass and some other just regular target ammo through it. So, yeah, they both did really fine there. Let's go ahead and talk about uses. Of course, concealed carry. That's what they are used for. That's their primary focus. But the nice thing about these is that you have 10 and 11 rounds. So when you're at the range, it's not like 6 or 7 rounds and you have to reload all of the time. It gives you decent capacity. So at least when you're at the range, you can have a decent time and you get some extra magazines and things like that. So that was actually pretty good. Let's talk about pros and cons of each gun. Keep in mind, we may not cover every pro that we did in the previous videos. We're talking about these guns compared to each other. Pros on the P365. It is lightweight, very good capacity, and it's got a nice looking finish. Slide serrations on this gun are better than the Hellcat, I feel, and the grip texturing and everything on this gun. It's a very natural gun in the hand. Shoots really well at the range. I like the magazine release, not as much as I do on the Hellcat, but I love the sight picture on this firearm. And this gun kind of started it all. So this is going to be the basis, and this is going to be what other companies are going towards, because they want to get, you know, a piece of this pie. Because the P365, whether you like it, hate it, whatever, it's been a very popular firearm, and companies are going to want to compete with that. And, you know, more power to them, because that gives us more options as law-abiding concealed carriers. So a lot of great features, a great shooting firearm, and I think it shoots better than the Hellcat, and I'll just go ahead and say that right now. Better set of sights and a better trigger on this gun. Light, decent capacity. The Hellcat is going to give you a better grip texturing. It's also going to give you one more round. And that one more round may not mean that much to you, but it is a They are literally one-upping the competition by doing 11 plus 1, which I think is actually pretty funny. Stainless steel components and a very quality gun, a very nice feeling in the hand, and they were able to maximize the least amount of real estate you can almost have. We say that now, of course, they may be even smaller, I don't know, but they just did a really nice job of maximizing the real estate without doing any kind of backstrap options or anything like that. I think they were able to really do a nice job, and the gun feels good in the hand. It's pretty much a natural pointer, I'd say. A little bit more adjustment on the Hellcat for me to pull it from the holster and to the target. But again, I think they did a really nice job. And straight from the factory, they did one that is optics ready, where P365 did not. So we're kind of covering pros and cons all in one. You know, where the P365 has a proprietary rail, the Hellcat does not. Where the Hellcat actually has a decent trigger, but a heavy feeling trigger. This gun is a little bit harder to shoot, where the P365, at least in our hands, is easier to shoot. This one has a magazine release that I think is better, and the way the responsiveness, the way they did the backstrap, I think this is a better design because it allows you to get these magazines out really quickly. Some people don't think this is a big deal, but I really appreciate that design there, because it allows you to get a fresh mag right in there. I think both guns, for as small as they are, they handle the recoil pretty well, but here's where the guns separate themselves for me, is at the range. The Hellcat feels, you feel more recoil in the gun. It seems like the P365 is a more natural shooting gun. It has a better trigger on it. It handles the recoil better, but the Hellcat, the specs would tell a different story maybe, because they have this nice grip texturing. It's a little bit heavier. I mean, really not much to speak of, but it just seems like this gun would probably be a little better shooting than what it is. But there is more felt recoil in this gun than there is in the P365. I honestly believe that, and I don't know why that is, but I just feel it more with the Hellcat. And Mrs. Headshot does too. I mean, Mrs. Headshot, she's a pretty good shot, but the Hellcat was one, she literally said she was done with it. And, you know, sometimes it's just like that. You know, the Hellcat is not an easy gun to just pick up and shoot, where I feel like more people could pick up the P365 and shoot it better in a quicker amount of time. I think the features, if I were to take maybe the grip texturing and the magazine responsiveness and the way they constructed their release and all that kind of stuff, and just move those features over here, you'd have pretty much the perfect handgun in the P365, at least for small concealed carry types. The Hellcat is a great firearm, guys. It really is. I like a lot of its features. I need to add a new set of sights and do something with that. But I think the sights are better, the trigger is better, the grip texturing is about the same, although I like the Hellcat a little bit better. Of course, we're talking about the magazine release. There's things I like on both of them, but if I'm putting my money on it and I'm going to take one today, I'm going to take the P365. If I'm going to grade them, I'm going to give the P365, for what it is, like a 9.5 out of 10. If I start having issues with this gun, it ain't going back in my concealed carry rotation. But as of right now, today's video, P365 has been nothing but reliable for me, and I'm going to continue to run it because it's been a great firearm. Great set of sights. I like them both, but P365, 9.5 out of 10. Hellcat, I'd give it like an 8 out of 10. So it's still not bad. But that's my choice of the two firearms here. I, of course, want to hear what your opinion is down in the comments below. Let me know which one you like better and why. We'll see y'all in the next one. And as always, hold 'em down.